Azoth, or notably known as King Azoth the Great, was once a ruler. His greatness allowed for him to rule an empire that no man could have ever imagined. His followers, his people, his dynasties, all loved him and praised him dearly. So in return, Azoth vowed his empire would last for all eternity. However, as time passed, Azoth's reign came to a complete stop. When his aging body could no longer support him, he passed on, still protecting his oath to keep his empire from collapse. Only those truly faithful to keep King Azoth's oath, his court sorcerer, crafted 7 soul stones that when brought together, could summon Azoth from the grip of death. For a very long time, nothing happened. Azoth's empire was barely holding on a thin line, closing near the brink of collapse. It has been 1,000 years after his death after all, but there was still hope. Devoted Azothian acolytes assembled the 7 soul stones, and awoke the once mighty king from the 1,000-year slumber. Upon awakening, Azoth was met with a slight nuisance. His consciousness was the same, but his body, his flesh, his organs were completely gone, all but his skeletal body. Although it took a little adjusting to adapt to his reawakened body, Azoth still maintained the physical capabilities that his body once had. After some time, Azoth achieved mastery in dark magic. With his newly acquired strength, Azoth was able to take down his enemies as ruthless and as brilliant as ever. Battle after battle, Azoth slowly took back control over his lost land, and almost as if through sheer brute force, Azoth was able to reconstruct his empire and thus became the infamous Lich Lord Azoth. Even so, not all were fond of Azoth's merciless tactics, as well as what dark magic Azoth was truly capable of using. Despite his strength, Azoth was not immortal. There was one weakness that Azoth had, and that was the soul stones. The stones were the only thing that kept Azoth alive, and only he knew that that was his own weakness. Or so we thought. In an undisclosed location, there was a group of classified fighters, training to fight against the destruction of Lich Lord Azoth. What were their names? They called themselves the Servants of Light. As Azoth and his empire grew stronger and stronger, it became much more vital for the Servants of Light to stop Azoth as soon as possible. The Servants of Light, knowing that their time is running short, progressively pushed their way towards Azoth's empire, fighting any and all threats along the way. But the closer they got to Azoth's empire, the more alert Azoth became of the Servants of Light, letting Azoth prepare for the attack ahead of time. This let Azoth recruit a couple fighters to battle alongside him. Just as Azoth's team assembled, the Servants of Light also arrived, beginning the showdown between Team Azoth and the Servants of Light. By the end of the long-fought battle, the Servants of Light were able to defeat Azoth, but not without sacrifices of their own. Azoth's body then turned back into the 7 soul stones, confirming his defeat. With the soul stones acquired, the Servants of Light were finally able to spread it out, so that Azoth would never be summoned again. Forever. But even so, Azoth was still not willing to give up his empire. He knew that he couldn't stop here. There had to be another way to get it back. That was when a flash of a bright light came out of the dark. Then wings. A Valkyrie. The Valkyrie descended down to Azoth and asked him, "We are impressed by your battle prowess and perseverance, so we would like to offer you a seat in Valhalla. Would you accept? Azoth did accept, but the vow was not forgotten. Azoth knew that his loyal Azothian cultists would gather the soul stones and summon him again. And so Azoth decided to follow the Valkyrie for the time being, and arrived at Valhalla. There he saw the vast amount of other warriors out and about, whether it was just a casual conversation or those that were eating a feast. But most importantly, the sparring sessions were the highlight of the great Valhalla Hall. Soon enough, Azoth too became accustomed to the culture of Valhalla, participating in the sparring sessions daily, and furthering his combat skills. Everything seemed to be going alright for Azoth, until during one of his sparring sessions, without warning, Azoth vanished from Valhalla. By some miracle, the Azothian cultists were able to summon Azoth once again after gathering the 7 soul stones, although it definitely looked like a long period of time has passed. With Azoth given another chance at protecting his vow, he didn't waste a single second and began reforging his empire and army. However, this was only the beginning of the many cycles to come. You see, what Azoth didn't know was that he was getting himself into a seemingly endless loop of being summoned back to life, reforging his empire, and losing a close battle to heroes that pushed him to his limits. Whether it was Azothlus triumphant that reigned, Azothlus the Terrible, Pharaoh Azoth, Azoth the Zombie Lord, Lord Azoth the Mighty, and even Death Speaker Lord Zoth Khan. All of these were different ways they called Azoth at the time, but they all had the same intention to fight, and that was the oath to keep his empire alive. Again and again, Azoth was summoned from Valhalla to repeat his role as the tormentor of the living, as well as meeting the Reaper, Nyx, every time he perished. What a terrible way to live your life, don't you think? Being absolutely obsessed with your empire and attempting to conquer the world with no mercy? The empire you vowed to protect a long time ago doesn't even exist anymore. The empire you have right now isn't yours anymore. It's an empire controlled by dark magic. As a Reaper, it's my job to direct indecisive souls to the next destination. That was when Azoth realized the oath that he made a long time ago was broken the day he died. He simply couldn't accept it back then. But now, coming to full realization, Azoth finally accepts his death. Thus, Nyx led him to Asgard where he will stay for his afterlife. Welcome to Azoth's afterlife. He would be more than happy to stay retired in Asgard, enjoying some reading, an occasional battle, and the company of his cat Dander. But the curse of eternal life is not easily broken. By the old law, even the most heinous curse must contain the seed of its undoing. Azoth could break the burdensome cycle of undeath through 10,000 selfless acts. He reckons if pet care counts, he might be at 1.